Some
You did what you wanted.
Right.
Patient, that's a really good, that's true. Oh, this, I'm glad you know that.
because I planned for it.
Is that when your recommendation is gonna come down? So
So they've developed, don't worry. Proof agents.
Oh, wait, no. It's been released.
Next
So
month.
these are about.
Yep. Next month.
Yeah.
In warning because Lions lost?
This is gonna be about 13.
I actually felt bad for him.
Maybe to
Yeah.
February 11th.
I had no
Yeah, I know. But they. Yeah. It's just another.
Me too. Yep.
Okay.
But yet again, the favorites. We've been mastering and we got a rematch of 2 years ago.
I think
right?
We're good? Yeah. Sorry.
Sorry, are.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our special board meeting. I would ask everyone to rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And I would ask the secretary to call the roll.
Christopher Abel.
Here.
Dave Hansen.
Here.
Matthew Phipps.
Here.
Keith Shaw.
Here.
Matthew Spalding.
Here.
Carrie Trev. Tony Vostelka.
Here. And it seems to be primarily a contract-related special meeting, so I think
Yeah.
we've done good staying within the confines of the concept of the special meeting. There's a theme that puts them all together. And the first one that we have to talk about is we have a presentation and the proposal from WASB here. And We have Mrs. Vickman here, and she's got a presentation which she may or may not walk us through, and then she's happy to answer any questions any of y'all have. I'm sure you saw them.
Through that. My name is Patty Bickman, and I will be the person that if you would choose WASB to facilitate your superintendent search, I would be the main person that would be working with you. So there is also another consultant that would be assisting me, especially like sometimes when we do large groups and we need extra support, and that would be Kelly Thompson. She was a superintendent in the Muskego, Norway School District. I have over 45 years of education background in public and parochial schools, small school districts, large school districts. The majority of my time was spent in Oshkosh, where I know Ken, way back when. And I was a teacher, a reading teacher, a reading specialist, a K-12 reading coordinator, an elementary principal. I supervised 26 principals, and the last position I had was as a human resource director. And then I went back to my hometown where I graduated from the school, and I became superintendent for the past 10 years at Southern Door, and that's where home is for us. We live in Door County. So just a little bit about myself. Your search should be responsive to your aspirations, and I love that you have your vision statement, mission statement, and your core values up on the wall that are visible for everybody and that always guide what you're doing. Our search process is very specialized. We've placed over 400 some superintendents in the years that we've been doing this. We have the ability to recruit and network with the state, regionally, and also nationally. We are very familiar with the search process, but you are in the driver's seat all the way. We have lots of different options. And if you would choose WASB, one of our first tasks would be a planning meeting with the board where you decide what options you want to pursue, how you want the search to look, who you want involved with interviews, how you want to get community stakeholder feedback, all of those sorts of things. Again, we have experience with large districts, with small districts, and this is really your search as the school board in order to meet your needs, and it is our job to be as flexible as possible. So I mentioned the planning meeting. There's also a piece where we engage with stakeholders. Again, it's up to you. Do you want to do a community survey? Do you want to do focus groups where people come in, staff come in, family members come in, community comes in? You as the board could have a focus group and we ask certain questions of what you're looking for in a superintendent. It's really up to you how you want to do that. And then, of course, we have the interviews. Typically, most districts will go with a first round of interviews where they kind of narrow down their candidates, and then they will select who they want to go on for the finalist interview. And those interviews can be structured differently. We also help you facilitate the discussions about the candidates. One thing that we do not do, like some of the other search firms, is you get to see every candidate who applied to your district. We do not sift them out and say, here are the 5 or 6 that we think are best for Manitowoc. You get to see everybody who applied. And as board members, you would have access to a portal which allows you to look at the entire application of each of those candidates. Their written application, their letter of interest, their references. Sometimes boards will choose to have an essay question or 2 that they want answered. So all of that information is going to become available to you once the deadline ends. And the last thing that we do is once you've selected your superintendent and your superintendent starts, if you bring us back to do a transition meeting where we kind of talk about board expectations and superintendent expectations and kind of set some initial goals, we have a 2-year guarantee for that search. We have a high placement of our superintendents, and that was referenced in more detail in your your proposal that you received. So again, the planning meeting, we review the process and the timeline. We determine how you want this posted, what your application requirements are going to be, who you want involved as stakeholders, what are your desires for leadership, and we consider updating the job description because there's always a good chance that some things have been added to the superintendent's job description over the years or not. We want it to be as current as possible. The application process itself, you receive access, as I said, to all applications. We advise you and we do a background check, you know, that goes through social media and goes through financials and things on all the candidates, and we bring that to you for your consideration. You select the candidates. It's totally up to you as a board. You also help develop the interview questions. We have several banks of interview questions, and typically what I let board members do is look at each of the categories, pick out the ones that are interesting for you and for your district, and from that we craft the initial round of interviews. And then I help you facilitate that first round of interviews. I contact the candidates, make sure they have directions. I probably work very closely with Lori to make sure that all of that takes place and that everything is set up so that they have a great experience when they come in to meet with you. Final interview process, again, after you've done your first interviews, you meet again as a board and you determine who is it that we would like to have now as our finalists. And typically we recommend that before those finalists come in, that someone from the board, and it's usually the board president, but it could be whoever you designate, starts doing reference checks with the references have been listed and any other references so that you really get a true picture of everything. We facilitate the final round of interviews, and then we assist you in having a discussion about picking the final candidate. I do not tell you who to pick. I don't tell you who to select. It is totally up to you. I just facilitate the process. You will receive a resource guide that will have lots of information in. It'll have examples of reference questions you can ask. It will also have, when we do the community groups or the community survey, you'll have the results of those surveys. It will also have the salary and benefits of other districts that are around you and other districts that are similar in size so that you kind of know what you need to have to be competitive. And we facilitate then the press release that comes out and we work with your district on that. The timeline in review, there was one put on the end of your proposal. That is a tentative timeline. What we would do at our first planning meeting is we would check those dates and say, does this work for people? And typically when you're dealing in spring with spring breaks and people's vacations and work responsibilities, it's a process of when can we do the interviews that everybody can make it there. We've got everything all set. We typically recommended posting at least a month. And at this stage of the game in spring, superintendent searches are heavy across the state. So I recommended a month, and so that tentative guideline is a month. You also have your spring break at a little bit different time than other people do, and so that worked out in our favor. And we would need to have a discussion as well, because I understand that this also bridges the board election. So we would, at that planning meeting, I would provide you with some legal advice from our WASB attorneys about the best way of handling interviews when you have some people leaving the board and some people that may be new coming on, because you want the new superintendent to feel that they've been chosen by the board and the community. So that's a process that is very easy to work out, and it's happened in other districts. Again, there's no additional fee for that 2-year guarantee if you do goal setting and expectations with us within 3 months of hire. And what 3 months of hire means, within 3 months of their starting date. So you may hire them here in April, but this would be July, August, or September before school starts. You'd want to let them get in the district a bit, get settled, and then you'd want to have that expectations. Because sometimes we find a new superintendent comes in And the secretary may say, well, this is how we've always done it before, and yet the board is looking for maybe something to change. Or the new superintendent may have a different way that the board would be open to exploring. You also get, with a search, a free one-year subscription to our new superintendent evaluation framework. We debuted this at the WASB conference. It is totally online, and it provides an opportunity for your superintendent to do a self-evaluation, you as a board to do your evaluation, and how you do some goal setting. We had an evaluation that has been in place for 3 years, and based on the districts that were using it, we made some modifications and enhanced it. And so far, we rolled it out January 1st, and we already have 10 districts that are very happy using it. So why choose us? It's a strong relationship as a member of WASB. This is a service that we provide for a cost. The search process is totally customized to meet your needs. We are specialized in working with agencies and with schools. We have a broad network of posting options. So even though our name is the Wisconsin Association of School Boards, and that's the name of the search, we do post nationally in a variety of different places. All the applicants are brought to the board. You are provided with professional support, advice, and a comprehensive resource guide to assist with all steps to the process. Again, you get the superintendent evaluation, and you get the 2-year guarantee. So just some closing comments, because I know you have lots of other business to discuss at your meeting this evening. The selection of a new agency or a school district administrator is the most important activity that you as a school board do. We understand that we have over 34 years of experience leading and supporting schools like yourselves, and we will work with you in a supportive way during your search. And while we provide advice and counsel to you, all the key decisions are made by you as the school board, so that it is really your search. We're just here to help and guide you through the process. And with that, I'll turn it over to President Dable and any questions that anyone might have. Thank you.
Thank you. Gentlemen, any questions? Any motions? Oh, you have a question?
Question.
Thank you.
Do you have the applications that the district uses, or do we have to develop our own application process?
We have a standard application process. We use the Rebellis portal, which is a standard superintendent. We have over 900 candidates already in that portal who maybe have applied for other positions. But then there are also new people that are coming out that would be entering their information in. What would happen is after we would do the community focus groups to get feedback on what the superintendent, what you would like, and we do the community survey, we put together a brochure about the Manitowoc School District. And I'd be working closely with Lori and with your administrative staff. And that brochure really advertises your district. It also provides the leadership profile that this particular district is looking for.
So really, all of that needs to be done before we enter our posting.
No, the posting, as soon as we have our planning meeting, that posting goes out. And the portal opens. It's just that brochure comes a little bit later after we get all of the information gathered. But the posting would go out immediately after we do our planning meeting. It would say when the first interview dates are, when the final interview dates are, because there's no excuse if someone's applying to not know they need to be available on those dates. And so all of that is out there in that immediate posting. The brochure just adds a little more information, especially if they're not familiar with the Manitowoc area, because there's lots of recreation opportunities, other education, business opportunities that maybe their family, if they have one, would be interested in exploring. Looks like we have a question over here.
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion.
Oh, absolutely.
Can I ask a question?
Oh, sure.
Is the planning, since it's a personnel matter, I mean, it's sort of a personnel matter, isn't it?
The planning
Is it-
session would be closed session.
It would be closed session, so we
Because
can.
we'll
we
be
can say
talking
what we
about
want.
lots of things that if someone was watching that, they would have an inside to the process.
Okay, that's cool. Yep.
It's closed session.
That's all I have.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to contract Wisconsin WASB search services to conduct a comprehensive superintendent search not to exceed the cost of $13,500 for the Manitowoc Public School District.
Second. Then we have a second?
Discussion?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. I think this is great that we're on the right track. My only thoughts right at this moment are that I think we should definitely get this done before the board turns over. I don't think it would be fair to incoming board members to have this process half done. So I think we have time to do that. And so I would just encourage that we move with urgency and get this process going ASAP.
Can you provide me with some information? I mean, I know every board has elections. And sometimes members choose to run, some choose not to run. What's the status here in Manitowoc?
Three people are up for, their positions are up for election and the incumbents are not rerunning.
Okay, so in the past, what has happened with that is you definitely want to have that so you might have, well, it sounds like you will have 3 new board members, right?
Correct.
Okay, so you want to have buy-in from really the previous board who really understands a lot about the district and has been part of a lot of discussions, but you also want your new board members to be involved. So typically what happens when you bridge a gap like that is that the first interviews are with, I don't want to say the old board, the current board, okay, with the current board, and you narrow it down to the finalist. And then as a board, you're able to invite others into your executive session. So typically what happens then is when it gets to the finalists, and I think the way the tentative schedule was, the final interviews were like April 6th or 7th, which was after the election. So those new people have not taken office yet because you haven't had your reorganization meeting, but they have been elected. So they could be invited into your executive session and they could hear the interviews of the finalists and they could participate in the discussion. They just don't vote. It would be the current board who is still seated who does the actual voting. But it gives you a chance to, because as a superintendent, you want to know that when you're coming in, you've met the board you're going to be working with, the board maybe who hired you, that kind of thing. But again, that's up to you, but that's typically what's been done in searches when it's bridged the gap like that. But that's something we could decide at the planning meeting.
I think he was just giving an opinion, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Are you going to go?
Yeah, I have another quick question. A couple of us were at the conference last week.
Okay.
And speaking with a number of CSAs, I see your timeline down here is 3 to 5 months. The people that I had an opportunity to talk to and for the CSAs expressed that there are a number of districts going to be looking for superintendents. And with that in mind, especially CSA 1 and CSA 2 said, it's not at all uncommon before a superintendent candidate applies for a district that they will go online and they'll watch a month board meetings, a month and a half of board meetings, a lot of committee meetings before they make applications.
They're interviewing you as well as you're
Exactly,
interviewing them these days.
and that's good.
Yeah.
I think that's good. But we have a 3 to 5 month timeline. According to the information that they were giving me in their process, that's pretty realistic. 3 or 5 months is really a realistic time to do the entire process and do it to,
I think I have it in 3 here for you.
yeah, 3 to 5, right?
Yeah, sometimes 5 is longer because sometimes people will choose to do their, like if they do a posting in December, not many people are looking in December, so they might do a 2-month posting because really the search thing heats up in January. That's when people really start looking. So they may do a little bit longer search and that sort of thing. But it's really up to you. I wouldn't, just starting now, because you knew a little bit earlier that you were going to have this opening, I would suggest the tighter time frame of 3 months. I think we can do that. And we can get people who are still on the first round, because what happens is a lot of people will get placed by the end of April, first part of May, and then the second round starts, people who are maybe moving to other places. But being a larger district, you're not necessarily going to be competing probably with, someone who might be applying to a small rural district of just 1,000 kids. You're going to be probably attracting different people. And when we have our planning meeting, we also talk if, whether you anticipate any internal candidates and how you want to handle that. And so that's all part of that planning process. So you'll see that if you go with us, I did have, like, next Tuesday, the 4th, I am available for us to meet if you wanted to go ahead and get the process kicked off and started. So.
Mr. Fitz?
Yeah, Patty, I want to call you Patty because I actually called you about 2 years ago.
Oh, you
when we
did?
this, and I talked to you for about a half hour or so.
Okay.
I just want to tell all the other board members, I'm very comfortable with conversations with you as well. And
Okay.
thank you very much last time.
Okay.
You were helpful in the process, and I'm excited to move forward with you now. But your efforts were not in vain last time as well.
Okay.
I'm just trying to tell everybody that
With my age, I'm getting a little bit less, I'm really good remembering faces, but.
I didn't see your face. We talked on the phone. I cold called you.
Okay.
And talked questions.
Okay, great. Well, thank you.
Yep.
No, thank
Appreciate
you.
that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. No further discussion or questions? All right, then we'll call the question, which is to contract with WASB for the superintendent search, not to exceed $13,500. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed signify by saying nay. Hearing none, that passes. Thank you. Now, before we move on, so that Patty doesn't have to stay for the rest of the meeting until we get to future dates further down the line, she would like to meet on February 4th to really get going. I know we have CNI and we have personnel and policy.
Yeah.
What is the earliest we can meet? Because I'm sure you
I'm
guys
also
will be
available
flexible.
this Thursday, if you wanted to kick it off Thursday. I had to check my calendar.
I'm not.
Okay.
Well, it's, how long of a meeting are we looking at there? Because that is the 3:30 to 5 are meetings for.
Yeah.
So,
That's a long
on that date.
Planning meeting is going to be at least 2 to 2.5 hours.
Would
Because
have
there's
to be
lots
after
of
that.
decisions we need to make.
Yeah, so we're gonna have to put it after. We can't put it in the middle.
Curriculum starts at 5.
Yeah, I believe that's a fairly shortish agenda on
It is a
curriculum.
shortish agenda.
So people in the curriculum and instruction, you'll get a little bit of a break. I can't guarantee you'll make it to the fast foods and back, but
Oh, yeah, it's okay.
Mr. Hanson.
Personnel will be also short, it'll be a shorter meeting.
Okay, so we'll have a break and then do it.
What date is that?
That would be the 4th, next Tuesday. And we could start at 6? I don't want to start before y'all are available.
It's going to be
It's not a bad
a
idea.
crap day for me, that's for sure. But yeah,
We'll make it exciting.
I work nights.
We move
Oh, no. Okay.
On the days that I have my committee.
Could.
I'm sleeping.
Well, okay, what's the earliest, gentlemen, we can make it? Because we can move curriculum up.
Yeah, go back.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping we could move that back, but that's probably not going to work out.
What, move curriculum to,
Yeah, that was
If-
before we had this.
if personnel
And
is.
we
is-
want it on that Tuesday?
What time were you guys
Why
thinking?
couldn't we do it?
I mean, we couldn't do it Wednesday or?
It could be done earlier.
Yeah, we could be done
Start the
early.
meeting.
5:30, sir?
Yeah, well, I mean, we could
Do you want,
We
let me
could
get
start
my
as early.
calendar once.
start as early as 5, I think, and then it's 5 to 7.
Okay. I mean, I don't know, what,
Anything works for me, I don't care.
Okay.
So just because my day's gonna be tough doesn't mean it doesn't work for me. I do it all the time. Doing it right now.
So 5 to 7 can work.
I can also do the 5th. Wednesday. the 5th.
Wednesday the 5th. Okay. Is Wednesday the 5th
I'd say
better for
Tuesday
everybody?
would be better for me.
Pardon me?
Tuesday's better for me.
Tuesday the
Do it
better?
the
Tuesday
same
would be
day.
better for me too.
It is, okay, then we'll stay on Tuesday.
Matter to me, like I said.
In time?
And we're looking at 5 to 7 for that meeting. And the other two will get times adjusted. Mr. Hanson, you don't perceive moving yours ahead, though? You're just still going to start at 3:30?
Yeah, we can be done easily.
3:30.
Okay.
You can be done.
Start at 3:30.
What would be the earliest?
We can start.
You can start curriculum at 4? Okay,
4:30 would be the
Let's
earliest.
just give a half hour for curriculum.
That's fine.
okay,
Yeah.
all right.
And we'll be good too, with a half hour.
And then we're doing this one 5 to 7.
A sample posting for how to post it.
Okay.
Okay, I'll do that probably tomorrow.
It's a closed session.
It's a
Yes.
closed session.
And let us know what, like, if you need any technology presentations.
So it'll be, you'll all have folders and we'll just be
Okay.
going through everything.
So
The old-fashioned way.
do we need any documents? Like, it might be good for us to have a look at the job description
Yeah,
before
that's
we hit.
regular thing, so we'll
You won't
have.
need to do that for that planning meeting, but it would be helpful, or if you could send me the current job description for your superintendent. Yeah,
So in this
No problem.
in this process, the idea would be to have all these group planning sections and all that kind of stuff for time, in the expediency of time. We can do that in our interview process as well, right? It doesn't have to be group meetings before that. We could,
yeah,
that step could
it
be.
really depends. Some districts will just do a community-wide survey. They'll put a survey link. I set up a community survey that would go on your website, and you just publicize that out if anyone wants to provide feedback on the
So that's a quick
superintendent.
turnaround.
That's a quick turnaround.
So we're not scheduling
No,
meetings 3
No.
weeks in a row to get the community. So,
right,
okay,
no.
Okay, okay.
If you do meetings with a group, typically what it would do is I'd spend a day here, and I probably would do a morning before school staff meeting, an after school staff meeting, and people just come in. And then you probably would do a community meeting that night or something like that. But it's really up to you. And, you also have to deal with, I'm working with another agency right now. They decided because it's winter and you have weather issues that they were just going to do the survey. So,
That's much more expedient.
right. Mhm. Yeah, we usually give them a week to do the survey.
Okay.
And it gives pretty good feedback because there's 6 questions that they answer.
Say people are going to do the surveys that would show up anyway.
Sometimes,
Yes.
Pre-discussion.
great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Safe travels back.
Yeah, will do.
Okay. Hang on. Get to the agenda. Thank you for your patience. Okay, next we have item 5, new business, item brought forward from the 116 Finance and Facilities Committee meeting. I will turn it over to you, Chairman Shaw.
At that meeting, we had a motion after much discussion and a presentation from Cadence Consulting. Cadence Consulting is a firm that does, I'm trying to find the correct terminology. It is a district representative firm that helps districts for planning, facilities, movement, mobility, referendum work, pre-referendum work, strategies, building community support. Cadence was chosen from the leadership team and also from Mike and Mr. Tennis that had interviewed a number of people, and they brought forth Cadence Consulting as that recommendation to supply that service to our board. The motion to accept their services was made by Matt Phipps and was seconded by board member Tony Vastelica with the information that Lee is passing out regarding some preliminary costs. So Lee, if you want to talk about those before.
Sure. In addition to the joint memo that Mr. Schwartz and I forwarded to the committee within the presentation, there were some conversations about different pricing. So the handout that I created was based off a question and a suggestion by a board member to really take a look at what this service agreement may cost us versus what some of the other services that we looked into would cost us. So what you'll see on this sheet is it's just very, very simple. I didn't include the names of other companies just because I don't, want to do that in a public meeting really, but we had Cadence coming in with their estimation. That was one of the things the committee asked for was, hey, we really, if we're going to pay somebody, a consultant by the hour, we really would like to know, what would be an estimate of that work? And so he provided that for us. So you have it linked in Board Book. What it looks like is about an estimation of about 30 hours per month. This is really an estimation up through the work of our time with our community and staff committees. At that point in time, we would anticipate the number of hours to decrease, but we just did a projection based on, all right, if it's 30 all the way through the 3-year process of, bonding and doing projects, the cost would be, 30 hours per month times 175 per hour at 5,200 roughly a month. As opposed to looking at the other service models, what's advantageous of having Cadence is it's sort of an a la carte. We can pick and choose things for him to do to help us at our ask. We're asking him to do X. We're asking him to do Y. He does that. It takes so many hours. As opposed to some of these other groups where you're basically paying for the full package, where they do everything, right? Which is great. I mean, that would be great for them to do everything, but it comes at a price. And as you see here, it's a price of essentially how those agreements work typically is that they'll be looking for a percentage of the dollars that you are getting in your capital plan. So in this case, 5% of 25 million is 1.25 million. And I gave you the numbers for 6% at 1.5 million, 7% at 1.75 million, and 8% at 2 million. I did put a note, though, that is important to remember. We're not comparing apples to apples in that. Cadence is going to he put the estimate together based on what we've asked them, that we'll need them to help us with. But in this model, they're really, that's the whole thing. That's everything, right? So that's the comparison there.
Okay, thank you. So as you read in Board Book, all the memos were there. The consultant letter, the recommendation by the learning team and administration. So I'm putting forth that motion to accept Cadence as our Cadence Consulting Service to be our district representatives. I need a second.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Yes.
I just wanted to talk about this a little bit. So like we had spoke about in committee, I made a motion to move this to the full board contingent upon an estimate of how much money would be spent before the before the vote on April 1st. And the estimate tentatively, depending on the services that we would choose, because it's an hourly rate, Cadence Services gave us an estimate of $10,500 before April 1st will be spent on the referendum efforts for that. So that was important for me to get out to the voters of the community. And I think that their services will meet our needs for moving forward through these processes. So I am in agreement with the administration to move forward with Cadence Consulting Services.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, then we have the motion, we have the second to contract with Cadence Consulting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed signify by saying nay. Hearing none, that is approved. Thank you. Next up, we have open enrollment for students with disabilities.
Thank you. So each year annually in January, we're required to take a look at our potential seat availability or space availability for students with disabilities who would elect to open enroll in the MPSD. So non-resident students who wish to come here and have an IEP. I've shared some information about statutes that support this and require this work annually, as well as some reimbursement information about what we get if we should accept students with IEPs into the district as open enrollment. It's a pretty lengthy process, and I'm very fortunate to have a wonderful team of program support teachers who help, because we need to review 870 plus IEPs in order to look at our current caseload projections. The services that each of those students require is determined by their IEPs, our staffing ratios. We have a workload analysis so that we can do some weighting of students that have more significant needs based on their IEPs as opposed to those who have lesser needs based on their IEPs. And then we need to take a look at create a teacher-student score. All of that information and work based on that workload matrix and those scores, as well as some definitions, is included in your memo. And if you look, most of our programs are closed for the 25-26 school year based on student IEP needs, current and projected caseloads, and our staffing ratios. With the exception of our high school in the minimal moderate support category. So based on that workload analysis, we would have 3 spots available to students with very minimal needs as determined by their IEPs, who could potentially elect to enroll through open enrollment in the MPSD. So that is one program where we do have a little capacity for students in open enrollment. And I know that, you know, as we're talking about open enrollment and attracting students to the MPSD, it feels a little bit like a, you know, not necessarily the right conversation to have, but you all know that students with disabilities come at sometimes a significantly higher cost than our students without disabilities, as I was just here asking for some additional support based on transfer-ins. So I did ask, again, it's just the best team, asked for some transfer-in data just to help you understand that we have students moving into our district all the time, some with significant needs, and then we need to scramble. So since December 2nd of 2024, so a little over a month ago, we have had 22 students with disabilities move into our school district and 5 leave. So just to give you an idea of the transient nature of our populations of students with disabilities, it is helpful to make these determinations this time of year for the next school year, because we do tend to have a significant amount of transference who move into our community, and it's essential that we have the services and space available for those students who live here. So.
Can I just have one quick question?
Yeah.
The total number you said you guys reviewed was 700?
870 some.
870 some, okay.
The number fluctuates.
Okay, thank you.
When a student moves into the district, and like you said, the transfer population, if they move into a district and they're in a closed program and they move out of our district, then does that open up a slot, or does that automatic program just stay closed then?
The program is closed prior to that student moving into our district.
Or moving out?
If they move in, we're taking them regardless, because we have to provide services to any student that moves into our district. So if they move back out, then we're kind of back to our status quo. But if someone moves into our school district, we're responsible for implementing their IEP, which is why I recently asked for 2 more paraprofessionals.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely. And what action are you looking for from us?
I am looking for you all to approve this as being our model
plan.
for the 25-26 open enrollment for students with disabilities.
Gotcha. In other words, to essentially accept the report that we have about 3 spots open at the high school as things stand.
For very minimal needs.
Yeah, for minimal needs.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Just an informational piece with this. So the regular education student receives interim reimbursements from, I think, state, right, is $8,962. And then for a special needs student, it's $13,814 from the resident school district. So whatever school district they'd be coming from, that school district would be paying this district the $13,814.
Yeah, but as you know, that doesn't even touch a
Yep, it
staffing
could be.
cost. Yeah.
Yep, no,
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
said we have 3
you're
openings
exactly
with
right.
very low.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of people have always asked me what that number is, and I think it's important for the public to know that number. So,
Yeah, it's interesting.
Move to approve the report.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the report. Do we have a second?
okay. I'll second
Okay.
the report.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Pitt. Anybody else? Anything else? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Oppose it. So that is accepted. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So, and so we are now on approval of carryover unspent Title
Yeah.
1A
Pretty nice.
fund.
Right.
Thank you for your patience.
I'm sorry. Basically due to turnover and staff and things like that, there were unspent dollars. If we don't do this waiver, we'll lose $115,867.
Yeah.
Basically, if you don't know what Title 1A is, it's really reading the READ program, one area that we really want to focus on. So in essence, it needs board approval to ask for this waiver, and that's why I'm bringing it forward for board approval.
Any questions?
This is on what program you said? The reading? So we haven't spent
That's correct.
money for reading.
Last year carried over to this year.
Right. So we have unspent money for reading.
So it just got lost in the sheets?
So if you want to talk about how that's sort of constructed.
Correct. So title is, so this is confusing, but it's not reading as in our curriculum and things. It's meant for staffing, for example, that you would have in addition to the standard in your district. So let's say, for example, we had one reading teacher was the district standard in every one of our schools. But let's say, for example, we had a high number of title students at one of our schools, for example, Washington, let's say, because they do have more. You would post a reading position there, which is now above and beyond what our district standard is. We could pay for that out of title.
Gotcha.
You can only pay for things out of title that go.
You can't supplant.
You can't supplant, correct.
But it's towards the reading classes
but yes.
or whatever of that teacher. Gotcha.
Yes.
I just wanted to clarify that. Go ahead.
And for students of need.
Need, right, yes. It's based on.
I'll make a motion to approve the carryover.
So, help me understand again why we didn't spend it last year? Turnover.
I wasn't there, but it had to be staffing that we understaffed or staff left and then replaced them. So in essence, so if a person leaves, you have to take a person from Title I, move them in. That's what happened in some instances where they were Title I, and you have to maintain X amount level in all the schools. So in essence, it doesn't get spent because they couldn't find a Title I teacher.
Correct.
Things like that. A lot of times it's finding teachers and that.
We had a position open, for example, all year at Washington last year. And you were holding it for someone and they never.
Just couldn't fill it.
Correct.
And Title I it's not at every school either. They gotta meet low income levels at certain schools.
And the teachers have to have specific licensures. I can't remember, it's 612 or 620. So there are lots of rules.
Got it.
And you have to fit them all before you can spend that.
Before you can spend that money.
I'll second.
Okay, so we had a second. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you for getting us back on track. I appreciate that. Okay, any other questions, discussion? Okay, so the motion is to approve the carryover. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Not surprise me, so that
Are we
carries
gonna
over.
spend that money now?
We have to.
Can we?
Yeah.
You have to spend it or we'll lose it.
Yeah, sure,
Not at this exact moment.
No, it's just.
When you say now, I'm not sure what you mean, but we can now, yes.
Yes.
Okay. So, and that fell under contract type thing. So now we move on to the final thing on here, which is administrative contract renewals. I had closed session on here in case anybody felt they needed it for this discussion. So I want to make sure if anybody wants us to go into closed.
I'd like to make a motion.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to extend the following contracts, the list that Mr. Tennis provided through the administration. to extend him for the 2-year contract.
I'll second that motion. That motion, not emotion.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second.
Do you want me to say that through June 30th, 2026?
You don't have to say that.
Okay, that's fine.
Well,
Right, the contract would be continued to a 2-year contract.
I know if you want
just say 2.
27.
27.
Yeah, to the 26-27 school.
Correct.
Okay. Any discussion? None? Okay, well, then before we take the vote, I will just say, as I said last year, as I will say again this year, I will not be approving administrative contracts until academic performance and behavior in the schools improve. I would approve 1 year, but I would not approve 2-year because we need better academic performance. We need better behavior in our schools. Said it last year, say it again. Okay? So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Nay. Those are approved. We have now meetings. We have 3 meetings now coming up next Tuesday. Mr. Hanson, yours is still at 3:30 then?
Yeah, we'll get it done.
Okay,
Mine's at
3:30.
4.
Yours is at 4,
Yeah.
and the other one is
4:30
I
for
think,
this?
Mr. Phipps, did you need 4:30?
That would help.
4:30 for
4:30.
Oh, okay.
4:30. And the last one will be.
Why don't we do ours at 4,
5.
it's at 4:30, or you want a break in between?
And then we'll do the other one.
Yeah, you could do that too. We could do that.
Just,
That one will be done.
yeah,
maybe
go at
10,
4.
12 minutes.
Personnel, we'll do it at 4, and then
Yeah,
yours
that
at
makes sense.
4:30, and
Or
then
you
you
go
go
at
at the other.
4:30 and we'll get started right
Okay.
away. Personnel will be at 4, curriculum at 4:30, and then a 5 o'clock start to their closed session or their executive session.
Okay. And that will, yes, and that will be a closed meeting. And then, of course, we'll have our regular February meeting, and we do have already planned a special board meeting for the end of February, which will be focused on the staff survey. And will be a presentation, I
Staff
believe, from Perception themselves, right? School Perception. Sorry, thank you for correcting.
What's the date of that one?
I would have to get it.
It's okay.
I got it.
February 25th.
February 25th. Thank you. Okay, anything further? Thank you all. We did all that
Okay.
really well and quickly.
Think so.
Very happy. Motion to adjourn?
Make motion to adjourn.
Motion, do we have a second? Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you, gentlemen.
You could be.